In 2026, the internet as you know it is undergoing a fundamental transformation that most people are completely unaware of. Have you noticed how your search results feel more sterile lately? Have you wondered why certain discussions simply vanish from your feed before they can even gain momentum? There are many theories circulating about the future of digital freedom, but today I will present 3 key theories that explain how a coordinated information blackout is being engineered by global elites to silence the internet this very year. Do you understand what is at stake when the primary medium of human connection is filtered through a bottleneck of institutional control? Why is this happening now? And more importantly, how does it affect your ability to think for yourself? Guess what happens next if we continue down this path of digital enclosure? We are moving from the era of the open web into the era of the managed reality. Think about the internet for a second. In its early days, it was described as a vast digital Wild West. It was chaotic, beautiful, and most importantly, decentralized. Information flowed like water, finding its way around every obstacle. But water can be dammed. It can be redirected into private reservoirs. Today, that is exactly what we are seeing. The infrastructure of the web is being reorganized into a series of walled gardens, where the gates are guarded by algorithms that you didn't vote for and that you cannot audit. This isn't just about censorship in the traditional sense. This is something much more sophisticated. This is about the systematic thinning of the digital herd. To understand this, we need to look at a very specific historical experiment. Have you heard of the panopticon? It was a design for a prison proposed by Jeremy Bentham in the 18th century, a circular building with a central observation tower. The prisoners could be seen at all times, but they could never see the guard. Because they never knew when they were being watched, they eventually began to police themselves. They became their own jailers. Does this sound familiar to you? In 2026, the internet has become a digital panopticon. The elite do not need to delete every dissenting thought if they can make you afraid or even just hesitant to post it in the first place. But the information blackout goes much deeper than self-censorship. It is a technological hard coding of what is discoverable. Imagine you are in a massive library with millions of books. You want to find a book on a controversial economic theory. But when you walk in, the librarian tells you that they have reorganized the shelves. Only the books on the bottom shelves are the ones you can reach. The other books, they aren't burned. They are just moved to a basement that requires a special key and a long walk in the dark. Most people will never go to the basement. They will just assume the books on the main floor represent the totality of human knowledge. This is exactly what algorithmic demotion does. You aren't being told you can't speak. You are just being told that no one will ever hear you. Why is this important? Because a voice that isn't heard is, for all practical purposes, a voice that doesn't exist. Let's look at the first theory, the sovereign internet protocol. Governments around the world are moving toward national firewalls. They tell us it is to protect us from foreign hackers or misinformation. But what is the actual result? It creates a kill switch. In 2026, the technical capability to sever a nation from the global web is no longer a luxury of a few authoritarian regimes. It is becoming a standard feature of modern governance. If a protest breaks out, or if an economic collapse begins, the flow of information can be throttled in real time. Can you imagine waking up one day and realizing that your connection to the world has been narrowed down to a state-approved trickle? This leads us to the second theory, which is perhaps even more chilling, the AI synthesis filter. We are living through an explosion of generative AI. But have you thought about who controls the data these models are trained on? As AI becomes the primary way we interact with information, the original internet is being buried. When you ask an AI a question, it gives you one answer. It doesn't give you a list of websites where you can compare viewpoints. It synthesizes a single narrative. If you stop looking for the source because the AI gives you a convenient answer, you have effectively outsourced your perception of reality to a black box. Why is this happening in 2026 specifically? Look at the global landscape. We are seeing unprecedented levels of debt, social unrest, and geopolitical shifting. In times of instability, those in power prioritize control over transparency. A transparent internet is a liability when you are trying to manage a crisis. Think of it like a pilot in a cockpit during an emergency. If the passengers start screaming, the pilot can't fly the plane. The elite view themselves as the pilots and the rest of us as the passengers. To save the plane, they believe they must lock the door and control the intercom. Let's use another analogy. Imagine you are at a party and everyone is talking. It's loud, it's messy, but ideas are being exchanged. Suddenly, the host walks in and hands everyone noise-canceling headphones. He says, "These will help you hear the music better." You are still at the party, but you are now isolated in a controlled environment. The internet of 2026 is those headphones. Do you understand the psychological impact? When people feel they are the only ones who hold a certain view, they suffer from pluralistic ignorance. They assume everyone else agrees with the dominant narrative, so they stay quiet. This is how you control a population without ever firing a shot. The third theory focuses on the Internet of Credentials. We are moving toward a web where you must prove your identity to access almost anything. Anonymity was the shield of the whistleblower and the dissident. If every comment is tied to your legal identity, will you still be as bold? The elite are building a system where wrongthink online has real-world consequences, loss of access to services, financial penalties, or ruin. How does this affect you today? It means the cost of being informed is going up. It used to be free to find the truth. Now it requires effort and skill. If you just follow the path of least resistance, you will end up in the reservoir of managed reality. Think about the way news is delivered now. Have you noticed that every time a major event happens, there is a unified fact check that tells you exactly how to interpret it? This is not a coincidence. The blackout isn't always a dark screen. Sometimes it's a screen so bright and filled with distractions that you can't see what's right in front of you. Consider digital sovereignty. While it sounds like a good thing for individuals, for elites, it means the power to define the digital borders of their influence. We are seeing a fragmentation of the web where regions are becoming isolated information bubbles. This prevents global movements from forming. Why is there so much investment in tracking and surveillance, but so little in privacy-preserving tools? You cannot control what you cannot see. The printing press decentralized knowledge. But in 2026, we see the reverse printing press. The middleman is an algorithm, and the monastery is a data center. The printing press decentralized knowledge. But in 2026, we see the reverse printing press. The middleman is an algorithm, and the monastery is a data center. Every time technology empowers the people, the elite eventually find a way to co-opt it. The internet was our tool for liberation, and that is why it is targeted. They will tell you they are protecting the integrity of the digital space. But ask yourself, who defines what integrity means? As we move deeper into 2026, the window of opportunity to resist this enclosure is closing. Once the infrastructure is fully in place, the blackout will be complete. You won't even know you're in the dark because the artificial lights will be so convincing. You will think you are free, but you will be living in a curated reality. How do we see the invisible hand? We look at the choke points. There are only a few companies that provide the backbone of the web. Only a few undersea cables. If you control these choke points, you control the world. In 2026, the consolidation has reached a tipping point. They only need to control the gateways. Most of us are addicted to the convenience of the gatekeepers. We like the personalized feeds, but if you aren't paying for the product, you are the product. In 2026, you aren't just the product. You are the resource being managed. Your attention is the territory, and the information blackout is the fence being built. Now, let me tell you about the most dangerous part, the memory hole 2.0. In Orwell's 1984, the memory hole was where documents were destroyed to rewrite history. In 2026, information can be changed retroactively. An article you read yesterday can be edited today. A video can be deepfaked to remove a key sentence. If the blackout can reach into the past and change what we remember, then we have no foundation to stand on. This is the ultimate goal of the elite. The mechanism I am talking about is the biometric gateway. Think about how you unlocked your phone today. Fingerprint? Facial scan? In 2026, these are being repurposed. The elite plan to transition the internet into a network of verified identities. Every search is tied to your biological signature. When the internet requires a biometric handshake, the blackout becomes surgical. They just make the site invisible to you because your profile is flagged. This leads to the great decoupling. They are orchestrating regional reality clouds. People in London, New York, and Tokyo see different sets of facts. It is the ultimate divide and conquer strategy. If we cannot agree on a shared reality, we can never coordinate a shared resistance. We become like ants in a glass farm, unaware that the hand moving the dirt is the same one that provides the sugar water. They use real threats like cyber terrorism as a Trojan horse to smuggle in total surveillance. Once you trade privacy for safety, you end up with neither. Imagine it is December 2026. A major financial institution fails. You go to your alternative news site, but the page won't load. Your social media doesn't show the crisis. It shows celebrity weddings. Your messages about it are held for review. This is the invisible blackout. You become a victim of engineered apathy. Why is this more dangerous? Because you just think there's nothing important happening. As an accountant of information, you realize truth has a liquidity problem. Restricted information creates a massive wealth gap of knowledge. They are playing chess while they've replaced your pieces with checkers and told you the rules have changed. Guess who wins that game? Now, let's look at the dead internet theory, which is no longer a theory in 2026. It is a corporate policy. Current estimates suggest that over 70% of internet traffic is already bot-driven. If they want to push a specific agenda, they don't just use 1 or 2 bots. They use millions of highly sophisticated AI personas that look, act, and argue like real people. They aren't silencing your voice. They are drowning it out with a digital chorus of ghosts. How can you organize when you can't tell who is human? The elite also use digital friction. They don't have to ban a site if they make it take 30 seconds to load. Research shows most people will abandon it. The fast lane is reserved for corporate media and state-approved entertainment. The slow lane is where the truth lives, but it is so frustrating to access that most people eventually give up. This is the blackout of convenience. Why 2026? Because 2026 marks a convergence of several technological cycles. It is the year where 6G testing begins to reach critical mass, promising total connectivity but requiring total integration. It is the year where central bank digital currencies are scheduled for wide-scale implementation. And most importantly, it is the year where AI models will have consumed almost all available high-quality human data. To keep these models and the societies they manage stable, the elite need to stop the pollution of unpredictable, uncurated human thought. They need a clean digital environment, which means an environment where the messy, rebellious, and inconvenient truths are scrubbed away. Think of the internet as a giant forest. For 30 years, it grew wild. It was a place of biodiversity and mystery. But the elite want a plantation. They want rows of identical trees that produce a predictable harvest of data and correct behavior. The information blackout is the herbicide. Think of the internet as a giant forest. For 30 years, it grew wild. It was a place of biodiversity and mystery. But the elite want a plantation. They want rows of identical trees that produce a predictable harvest of data and correct behavior. The information blackout is the herbicide. They tell us they are landscaping for our benefit, but a plantation is not a forest. It is a factory. And you, my friend, are not the gardener. You are the soil. We have to start treating our information the way we treat our physical health, with extreme care and a refusal to consume processed junk. We have to learn how to communicate outside the reality clouds they have built for us. We have to rediscover the value of decentralized, peer-to-peer networks that don't rely on the elite's choke points. So, is all hope lost? Not quite. But the solution isn't better social media or a new app. The solution is digital secession. We have to learn how to communicate outside the reality clouds they have built for us. We have to treat our information the way we treat our physical health, with extreme care and a refusal to consume processed junk. Can you imagine a world where the most valuable thing you own is a physical book or an offline database? In 2026, that is not a hobby, it is a survival strategy. To the children born today, the curated, filtered, and monitored web of 2026 will just be the way things are. They won't know what they've lost because they've never had it. Do you understand the gravity of this moment? We are the last generation that will remember what a truly open internet felt like. To the children born today, the curated, filtered, and monitored web of 2026 will just be the way things are. They won't know what they've lost because they've never had it. This is how a blackout becomes permanent, when people forget that the light ever existed. Why is this important to realize now? Because you cannot fight a blackout once you have forgotten what the sun looks like. Let's recap the 3 theories. First, the sovereign protocol gives them the kill switch. Second, the AI synthesis filter gives them the narrative control. Third, the Internet of Credentials gives them the personal leverage over your life. Combined, these 3 elements create a digital iron curtain that is falling across the globe in 2026. Let's recap the three theories. First, the sovereign protocol gives them the kill switch. Second, the AI synthesis filter gives them the narrative control. Third, the Internet of Credentials gives them the personal leverage over your life. Combined, these three elements create a digital iron curtain that is falling across the globe in 2026. It is a blackout of the mind, a blackout of the soul, and a blackout of the future. The elite can control the gateways, they can control the algorithms, and they can control the bots. But they cannot control your ability to doubt. They cannot control your ability to seek out the unoptimized truth. As we look ahead, the question isn't will the internet be silenced? The question is, will you be silenced? The elite can control the gateways, they can control the algorithms, and they can control the bots. But they cannot control your ability to doubt. They cannot control your ability to seek the unoptimized truth. The information blackout only works if you stay in the room when they turn off the lights. But what happens if you walk out the door? What happens if you start building your own light? In 2026, the internet as we know it, a place of discovery, rebellion, and raw human connection, is being replaced by a managed utility. It is being sterilized for the safety of the status quo. In 2026, the internet as we know it, a place of discovery, rebellion, and raw human connection, is being replaced by a managed utility. It is being sterilized for the safety of the status quo. But remember, the more they try to compress the truth, the more pressure it builds. The more they try to dim the lights, the more obvious the shadows become. The elite plan is sophisticated, but it is also fragile because it relies on your compliance. It relies on you being too tired, too distracted, or too afraid to look for the basement where the real books are kept. The internet is not a place. It is a conversation. And as long as two people can find a way to speak the truth to each other, without a middleman, without a filter, and without a biometric signature, the blackout has failed. The internet is not a place. It is a conversation. And as long as two people can find a way to speak the truth to each other, without a middleman, without a filter, and without a biometric signature, the blackout has failed. The elite want you to believe that 2026 is the end of the story. They want you to believe that the managed reality is the final evolution of human society. But guess what? History is full of final plans that ended in the dustbin. The information blackout is a sign of their fear, not their strength. They are silencing the internet because they are terrified of what you might do if you were truly informed. So, as the digital clouds thicken this year, don't just look at your screen. Look past it. Question the summaries. Seek out the friction. And most importantly, never forget that the most powerful network in the world isn't made of fiber optics or 6G towers. It's made of people who refuse to be told what is true. So, as the digital clouds thicken this year, don't just look at your screen. Look past it. Question the summaries. Seek out the friction. And most importantly, never forget that the most powerful network in the world isn't made of fiber optics or 6G towers. It's made of people who refuse to be told what is true. Why is this important? Because in the age of the information blackout, the simple act of remembering the truth is a revolutionary act. Do you understand your role in this? Are you ready to keep the signal alive? The year 2026 is not just the year they try to silence the internet. It is the year we find out who is actually listening. Stay curious, stay skeptical, and never stop looking for the light in the dark. The blackout is coming, but your mind doesn't have to be part of it. The question is, what will you do when the screen goes dark? Will you wait for them to turn it back on, or will you find your own way? Stay curious, stay skeptical, and never stop looking for the light in the dark. The blackout is coming, but your mind doesn't have to be part of it. The question is, what will you do when the screen goes dark? Will you wait for them to turn it back on, or will you find your own way? The future of human thought depends on your answer. And as always, I am here to help you navigate the complexity of our changing world. But remember, the most important script is the one you write for yourself. Do you understand? Good. Because the next chapter is up to you. Thank you for watching and stay vigilant.